Episode number 73. This episode is brought to you by our Career Kickstart program, where we help working mums who are feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and frustrated to take the next best step in their career. Figuring out your next career move can be tough, and when you add motherhood into the mix, well, things can get really complicated. So through our program, we help you to move away from being frustrated and overwhelmed to getting to a place where you are loving your work and life. If this sounds good to you, then head over to our website at www.lightboxcoaching.com and find out more information. Hi, you're listening to the Careers Beyond Motherhood podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help working mums like you to thrive in your careers and in motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversations with awesome women to help reduce the struggle in your juggle.
Time for Say Mummy.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It is great to be back with you again today. I appreciate you joining me, whatever it is you're doing, whether you are driving, washing dishes, playing with the kids, working, whatever it is you're doing, I appreciate you tuning in to this podcast. Now, today I want to talk about a topic that I've been talking about quite a lot recently in person at some speaking engagements that I have been doing, and I thought I'd bring it to the podcast. So last week, at the Women, Mothers and Lawyers event in London, and this coming Friday at the Women in the Law conference in Manchester, I spoke and will be speaking about the power and importance of personal branding. Now, personal branding is a topic that some are familiar with and some not so much, but essentially it's looking at how you can be intentional about the message you put out there around who you are, what you do, and what you stand for. And since maybe the beginning part of last year of 2018, I made a commitment to be more consistent on LinkedIn as a platform and show up and share about my business, about my values, about my passions on the platform. And over time, that has really been part of the puzzle that is my personal brand. Having this podcast is also part of it, but there's various things that I've done over the last few years to build my personal brand, and it can be so impactful. And so today we are going to be diving into an interview that I did with one of my friends and fellow business buddies about marketing. So she is a marketing expert with a wealth of experience, and we talk a bit about how some of the marketing principles that apply to businesses can also apply to us as individuals as we are looking to advance our careers or grow our businesses. So I cannot wait to dive in and speak to Mallory. She is so awesome. And just to give you a bit of perspective on our relationship, we were both in a mastermind together, and she too has a podcast. And when I was interviewed for her podcast, we actually recorded the interview in a closet, as they say in America, or in a wardrobe, as we would say over here. So we were at this mastermind. It was the night before everyone was set to go home, and we just hadn't got round to recording this podcast. And so it was midnight. We both had our pajamas on. We got into the closet and recorded the podcast. And it was a great space for recording podcasts, by the way. So it's just awesome to have her now sharing on this podcast. And I want you to meet her. And I know you're going to love her as much as I do. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hi, Mallory. Welcome to the show. I am super duper excited to have you today. Could you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. So my name is Mallory Schlabach. I hail from the U.S. I wish I was as cool as you Brits, but I'm in North Carolina. I have 4 kids between the ages of 4 and 9, and I do marketing strategy for female entrepreneurs. I love helping women, especially figure out how to grow and scale businesses, whether you're just starting out all the way to 6 and 7 figures. Marketing can be really overwhelming. So I like to teach you the things that you need to do specifically for your business to grow and scale it to where you want to go and not feel overwhelmed.
Awesome. That is brilliant. Okay, so one of the things that I love to ask my guests about is what their journey was like pre and post motherhood when it comes to their career. So you have 4 young babies that are very close together in age, and I'm like, wow, hats off to you. That's amazing. But tell me a bit about what your career looked like before you had your babies, and then how you transitioned into working for yourself and what you do now.
Okay. Well, I think the kids, my crazy comes out and you see why now, right? Because I have all these children and they're so close together. For me, I've always worked as a mom. My husband has been through, I wouldn't say med school. He's a PT, physical therapist. So over here, you have to go to undergrad, you go to grad school, you go through residency, you go through all this stuff like med school. And so I've always kind of been the breadwinner, kind of starting out for him to go through all of that. And then we just kept having kids. So for me, I was really overwhelmed at first. It was an accidental. Our first one was like, whoops, we just started grad school. Why are we having a baby? So it was like figuring out how to juggle a newborn and still be the only person that worked. And so luckily for me, at the time, I was running my parents' marketing for their software company. And so I was able to take my daughter with me to work every day. My mom kept her. I was able to take breaks with her and that kind of thing. So that was an easy transition for me to not feel as overwhelmed. And then my husband graduated and we moved 6 hours away. And all of a sudden there went my built-in babysitter and there went the safety net. And it was like, how do I still get stuff done? But now I'm by myself. And oh, by the way, we're having another baby. So for me, it's always been this pull between how do I be the mom I want to be and how do I still make money because my family has to survive type stuff. And I remember when my second son was born, my husband had just finished all of his schooling. He actually had a job and I was like, I can't go back to work. I just can't do it. I have to stay home. And he was like, you literally have to, you carry the insurance. You have to keep working. You can do this. And so for me, once I get an idea in my head, I'm doing it. I'm like, nope, I'm quitting, not doing it anymore. But he was like, no, you have to. And so then it's this thing crap, I really do have to keep working. So it was learning how to find myself as a mom, be secure in who I was as a mom, and that my kids were not going to hate me. They were not going to fall apart, even if I worked, with my dream to do really cool things in the world still. Because if I'm going to work, it needs to be worthwhile for me. And so it was just this big pull. We had a lot of back-to-back kids on accident. Again, everybody, let's practice safe things. Is that I had to learn how to be a good mom still, right? It's not only just the battling in your head. It's not only the doubts you have. It's literally what are the things I need to do as a mom that's going to make me feel really confident so that I can go and work and be full-time employee when I'm there. And I'm not this battling. I don't know what you've experienced as yourself. It's when you're at home, you think about crap, all the things I have to do on my list. And when you're at work, it's I need to be at home with my baby right now. They're crying or they're this. And so it was never giving anything my full attention. And I think that's where a lot of women feel like they suck at life. It's this really, really hard pull is that you're not doing anything well. So for me, part of my search led me to get certified as a life coach and business coach because I was I need to figure out where what my place is, what I can do, where do I need to go. And so getting the certification allowed me to tap into my own things and figure out, you know what? There are amazing people, finding models. There are amazing people out there in the world who are phenomenal mothers and have built phenomenal businesses. And that's okay. And so a lot of it was dealing with the inner battles and dealing with some of you, maybe you have this too, is I didn't have anybody in my circle who was a working mom in the way I was. They were either nursing. For some reason, nursing's forgivable, right? If you're nursing, that's a noble job. If you're a teacher, that's a noble job. If you're in business, no way, man, you're in it for the money. And so I kind of felt isolated. I either had stay-at-home mom friends who didn't work or the acceptable professions, where it's oh, that's great, you're a nurse. And so that's kind of where I went. I started doing this. I started falling in love with being empowered to make smart decisions and to go chase really big goals and still be a great mom. And so I started working with women because I saw that gap. I was they need this too. They need to know that if I can raise 4 kids who are psycho and amazing and wonderful and miss me and, give me all the love they would give if I was home and still be okay, then I can teach them how to do that as well. So a lot of what I do, sometimes it's pep talks. People hop on Voxer and they're I'm going to miss. I was you are an amazing, everyone just needs a cheerleader in their life. And so I kind of think that's where my journey has taken me is that, yes, I help you grow your business, but I am always going to be that back person in your pocket. That's you've got this, you got to do this. You need to go take a break and go to daycare and see your kid, go do that. Just be the mom you want to be and then go be the boss you want to be as well. That's kind of a long answer to that, but there's my journey for you.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And you're just talking about, that whole having role models and inspiration is the main reason why I started my podcast, is that I thought it was important for people to see different women in different industries being able to do the juggle and work out the kinks in it and be on a journey. And so all that you've just described is a great example of how you can make it work. Like 4 kids, running a business. If Mallory can do it, so can you.
That's right. If we can do it. I mean, because honestly, I think we think in our heads, like those people who are really successful, they must know something I don't, or they must be like really cold hearted, or they must not love their kids, right? Like we put all these crazy assumptions. But when you get to share the stories of women who have been on your podcast who are like, you know what, I cried every day for the first 2 years. Like, as I went into work and that kind of thing, it's like, oh, that's okay. That's me too. She's still doing it. Like, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to miss your kids. It's okay to want to be away from your kids. That's also why I still work. I enjoy the break from my kids. Let's be honest. So I love that you do that and you bring those stories, because I think that's what helps people keep going each day, is you need to have those stories. That's why storytelling is so amazing.
Yeah, and I would just encourage you to share how you're feeling as well, because sometimes it feels isolating until you say it out loud and you have someone else that says to you, yeah, me totally too, like I've totally been there, and then it feels okay. So yeah, we'll just encourage people to share. So I want to now dive in to all of the awesomeness that you have to share around marketing.
So typically when people think about marketing, they think it's like all the like shiny, flashy, like here I am things, and it gets really overwhelming. So what I like to define marketing as is it's like the very first impression you make and the relationships you start to build so you can make sales. It's like the front runner. It's like that person you send out like to go like find a guy for you, right? When you're dating, like, oh yeah, you know this girl I got back here. Like that's marketing's role. It's like to go out and put out a good thing foot for you in front of the world so that you can then make the sale. And so what I love to help people do is to help scale what they're already doing well, get a really, really refined goal and strategy, because as you probably have experienced, there's like 8,000 billion things you could possibly try. And everyone's like, this is the magic bullet, but there really is no magic bullet. I hate to burst that bubble for anybody who thought there was, but you can stop Googling it for sure. Basically, it's got to fit what you're really good at for your strengths, what you want to do for your business, how you want to scale it, and then just being consistent. And that's what I help my entrepreneurs and business owners figure out how to do.
Brilliant. I love it. Okay, so the ladies within our community are a mix of women who are in the corporate space, who have returned to work after having a career break and starting their families, and then also women who are starting their businesses. The women who are kind of in the corporate space, a lot of them are transitioning into new areas. And so marketing themselves is a challenge for some people, and knowing how to be putting themselves out there. So would you be able to speak to us kind of from both sides on how you can apply some of the principles that you share for anyone getting started with marketing? So whether you're like, okay, I don't know how to market myself, or how do I even start marketing my business? Like, where is the best place to start?
Okay, that's a really good question. It's also kind of a loaded question. So I'm going to try to touch on some points of it. But this is not exhaustive. This is not an exhaustive answer. So particularly for the people who are needing to build their own, basically like a personal brand, really when you think about personal branding, it all comes down to personality. Really, you might have heard terms of like personality marketing and that kind of thing. But when I am working with someone who's a solo person or who really needs to, like you said, sell themselves in a way, it's all coming down to the point of, okay, get real honest with yourself first. Who do you want to be wherever you're at, whether that's in this new role, whether it's trying for a new job, whether it's starting a new business, a new side gig, but who do you want to be? Like, how do you want to show up? That's kind of the thing that's going to set the tone for everything you do, because it's going to dictate kind of what your branding looks like. It's going to dictate the types of language you use and the copy you write. It's going to dictate the types of pictures you might take or use on your stuff. So if you don't know who you want to be and like what role you want to like emulate and how you want to kind of show up in the world, it's going to be real hard. And you probably are going to feel a little bit discombobulated about, well, I used to do this thing, but now I need to step into this new role and it's really scary and it's like a lot more responsibility. It's almost like you're putting on a persona when you have to rebrand yourself or do this personal branding. And so you have to own it first inside. So like, for example, for my personal brand, if you see behind me, I love pink. I love hot pink. I have hot pink everywhere in this room. And I use that a lot in my branding. I'm also kind of a lot. And so I just roll with that. Like I'm not trying to package myself up to be super professional, even though I work with really big brands and businesses, because that's not me. So it's one, figuring out how I'm going to show up is like, I'm going to show up as an expert in what I do and own that. I'm going to be okay with being really girly and over the top. And I'm going to be okay with not being polished all the time. That's really where my personal brand is that I'm not polished. I talk really, really fast. I slur words together sometimes. I'm a little blah, but that's okay. So that would be where I would start people is like figuring out who you want to be in this personal brand. And then everything else after that kind of falls into it. It's like, well, I could do this. I want to show up as a softer side, or I want to show up more, authoritative. Those types of things help build a personal brand. And that can be crossed over into like your own business as well. Because you're going to start to see, okay, well, how do I need to show up online? What do I want my website to say? That's all going to kind of blend over once you figure out what your role is as this like face is like the billboard for your own business. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yes, it totally answers the question. And so when people think of marketing, one of the first things that they think they need to get on and do is social media. So it's like, okay, I need to do marketing. And then it's trying to be on all of the different social media platforms. So can you speak to us a bit about what approach you would take or suggest that we take when it comes to that? Because it can get really overwhelming.
Yes. Okay. So I preach about this on the podcast and to my people. You are absolutely right. You're told to be on every platform. Like people need to see you. You need to be everywhere. And that's a great thing if you're like a 5+, 6, 7-figure business. When you are starting out or you're by yourself or you even have a small team, you need to be on one single platform. And that's it. I don't want you to get straight into all the things. Now, it's totally possible to repurpose across the board and then still show up on everything. But that still takes a lot of attention and a lot of figuring out, because then are you just going to put it out there and leave it and then just focus on your still one main channel? You still have to engage. You still have to interact. And you start to feel like you're kind of like strangled because you're in all these platforms. You feel like you have to show up. And that's why social media gets the kind of bad rap of like taking over people's lives. So I would say pick your one platform. Ideally, honestly, the first thing I tell people to do is the one you're most comfortable on. It doesn't even necessarily have to be the one that your people are on the most, although that totally makes sense too. But if you're not on the platform you're already comfortable with, you're not going to give it your best shot. And so you're not going to see results. And that's when you start to stray and to be like, well, maybe I should dabble in this as well. Or maybe I should also like post some stuff on Instagram, because you're not seeing results on your one platform. So that's why I kind of start people with number one, pick the platform you are most comfortable on. You're already on there already. And then two, the one where your people already show up on as kind of like a starting point. And then for rest, don't even worry about them. You're still going to hit your business goals that you need to hit. And as you kind of grow and scale and bring people on, then you can think about kind of expanding into other platforms, but don't let it overwhelm you. You can totally make a really viable, amazing business on one single platform.
Okay, that is awesome. And I know that like a lot of people do focus on social media, but one thing that stood out for me with you when I first came across you is the fact that you really share about the old school traditional marketing principles and practices that still work, that people have kind of forgotten about because they think social media is the be all and end all of marketing. So can you talk about like how can we either blend that with our social media approach, or like what else we can be doing that's effective?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been doing marketing since the early 2000s. And so back then the internet was not very cool yet, right? Like Facebook was just starting, if that gives you an indication, right? How fast the internet world has grown since we kind of came online. So some things that still work really well is marketing really is built on making connections with people and the relationships you're building. So when you think about old school marketing, a lot of stuff that still works really well is referrals, face-to-face networking, making connections with people, straight up like that direct, like one-to-one conversations, which is why that kind of translates really well into social media. People like, well, slide into my DM or let me send you a message, that kind of thing, because that's a little bit of the old school mixed with a hybrid of social. But what works really, really well, which allows you to not use social media as a crutch, is to figure out how do you get in front of your people regardless. So if you could even play a game, like if the world was ending, Facebook did actually crash and all your platforms you loved, what would you do? Which is a really interesting theory to think about. It probably panics a lot of people to be like, how would you build your business? Because so much is built on the backbone of social right now. So starting out with figuring out where are your people, if you had to get in front of them without social media, what would you do? For most people, you'd honestly probably get out the phone book, try to look up their email. You'd want to invite them to something outside of social media. So that's where a lot of times I'm like, start local. Local is the fastest way to grow your business and keep it sustainable without having to worry about social. Social is great and it's got a lot of perks to it as well. But if you want to talk about a sustainable business, starting local first is a really, really easy way to kind of get that going. If you've heard of like bulky mail, like sending stuff in the mail, that's really old school and it still really, really works. Actually, I don't think I have it with me. I got the craziest thing in the mail. I have never seen this yet. It's blowing my mind. I'm going to have to go live about it. So for one of these big firms that I'm working with, they are, testing out different software to use to grow the team. They've done a couple demos with somebody. Well, this package arrived in the mail and it's like a mailer, like the size of a piece of paper maybe. It was kind of foamy. When you open it up, it is a video mailer. There is literally a baby video screen and it starts playing a video and a demo of their product.
Wow.
And it's got like giant buttons where you can pause and fast. I've never seen that in all my years. It was like mind blowing. But you know that if you were to get, like, I sat there and watched the whole thing, even though I've already been through 2 demos with them, because it was so mind blowing. So like things like that, bulk mail, things that are outside of the box, those still totally work. That's why like giant mailers still work for junk mail days in your mailbox, right? You still look at them. They're still like when they're really bright and colorful, when they're abnormal size, when they're abnormal shape. So those types of things still work as well, getting in front of people. It's just learning how to think outside of the box and not just do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so you touched on something that I want to ask you about because I'm planning something. So in terms of local networking, local building your local presence, I'm planning to do a local workshop.
Yes.
And I'm going to do it at the end of August. So what would your recommendation be for me in terms of getting started with promoting that? I plan to do like an Eventbrite event and promote it, but what would your recommendations be for me? Because there might be others in the group that are planning similar things. Sure.
So the easiest, this is a really I should probably know this question, but I don't. Does Meetup, does it go worldwide? Are you familiar with Meetup?
We do have Meetup, yeah.
Okay. So I would also utilize Meetup as a way to announce it.
Okay.
It's also kind of a good way to start a side community.
Yeah.
Even, you don't really necessarily engage on Meetup, but it's a great place for you to find people you would not normally find necessarily on your social channels to get the word out. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for things to go and attend, which is why it's different. On social, everyone wants to stay on their computers and never come out of their houses. But Meetup and those type of an Eventbrite, those are people who are searching actively to go out and meet people. So those are good places to kind of start. Typically, when I like to promote something local, first, I make a list of who all the people that I already know that I would love to come, who I think would be perfect for it. I almost start a short list of people that I want to kind of either prime the pump to see if I can get them to come early. So I know I have people coming for sure, or they're going to be cheerleaders for me, or they're going to be connectors. So I kind of go through the gamut of the 5 people you kind of need in your business. It's you need people who are already on your warm list, people like leads that you think, hey, you know what? I've already been chatting with them. Why not invite them to this thing I've got going on as another way to another touch point for you to have with them. Connectors. So people who already know a ton of people. You want to have a couple of those people on your list of who knows everybody, who's the big bullhorn in your town, who's hey, so-and-so. Get them on your list of how can they help you promote it to their community. The third people are going to be influencers. So people who in your community can help so either they might have a similar network, they also host events, period. They don't even have to have a crossover, but I would think about who could you reach out to kind of help either cross promote it. You could help, even if you invited someone big to come and introduce it or say something beforehand type thing. They're not doing the event, but their presence is there. So it's going to draw their people as well. That's a kind of a good way to also kind of bring in somebody else's market into yours. And then people you already know. So not even just warm network, personal people you know that you can invite. Honestly, even if you just need a couple warm bodies, pick 1 or 2 people that would just show up because it gives you a huge boost. And when people see other people came, they're going to be dang, I need to find out now what I can do next type thing. So those are the people I would start to kind of make your list about. And then you're kind of have all this, now we have a 4 or 5 prong approach to between now and August, I'm going to start laying the foundation work. So besides just, being flashy and here's my marketing, here's my post everywhere to promote it, I'm also doing the underground work of how do I get people and drive them to it. You can also think about leading up to it, depending on what your topic is. Is there some kind of challenge? Is there some kind of something you can do locally that's going to lead them into wanting to go to that next? There's lots of different ways you can use your time between now and then to kind of build excitement so they feel like they have to come to that because it's going to be amazing, which it is clearly.
Oh my goodness, there is so much gold in that. Like, I love that because I think that when you come to promoting things, you do think about, okay, I need to, tell people about the event. I need to like post about it. I need to advertise it, maybe whether you do Facebook ads or you do Google ads, whatever. But the back end where it's like actually you're connecting with the people that could potentially come or introduce people to come is like, I think that's definitely a bit that gets missed by a lot of people who are not as experienced in either doing events or running a program. It's really the like connections that you're making with people.
Yeah. And like, honestly, this might blow your mind, but in the nearly 15 years I've been doing marketing for, events, conferences, my own stuff, what actually works, like this is going to blow your mind. But every single time we've had something, it's been the personal invites that get probably 80 to 90% of the people to actually come. There's going to be outliers, people who just see it and they're like impulsive and they want to come anyways, even if they don't have a connection to you yet or they've been stalking you. But for the most part, they either have some kind of personal invite from somebody they know, it's somebody you know, or you've reached out to them so they know it exists. That's what's going to drive people for anything, whether you have a course, whether you have a program, whether you have a live event, whether you hold a workshop, whether you hold a Zoom meeting. It's those personal invites that hands down are going to bring 80 to 90% of your people. And so it's like making sure you set time aside and just do that. That's why those lists of people are so important, because that's going to be your kind of go-to. That's going to build up the bulk of your stuff. Then as you kind of get bigger and grow, it gets word out. 2 or 3 times, you don't necessarily, you still into your list, but you're going to have 2 to 3 the times of people coming, because it's going to spread organically. And those people who came to the first one or the second one are then going out and being your mouthpiece as well. And that's how it grows. So like when you think about people who have these crazy launches and all these people come, they didn't come the first time. If they did, it's because they had a lot of social capital coming out beforehand and they did a lot of reaching out, not themselves, like their team and those people. That's why like affiliate marketing works so well, right? It's everybody using their big mega horns for their list, driving it to somebody else. So you can use that to your advantage as well.
That is so good. So good. Okay, so that's if you're running an event, and then the same principle applies. So if you're just getting started with your business, so we have Akua who just joined on, and she hasn't started her business yet, but she really wants to. So she wants to get started as a virtual assistant. And her primary thing when we talked about what she wants to do was like, I don't even know where to start with how do I get clients. So in terms of that approach that you just shared, like making a list, what type of list would you be making if you're getting started in your business and you're saying, okay, where do I go to get my first client?
Okay. I like to think of, there's kind of I call like the 4 marketing strategies you need, period, across the board. So the first one, even if you're just starting out and you don't really have any idea of clients, you still need to know where in the world you're going in your business, so you know who to start attracting as clients. Now it sounds weird because you're like, well, I know my skill set, but if you don't know where you want to take your business, you may start out something real crazy and it's going to like take this weird left turn and you're like, whoa, I didn't mean to end up over here, right? So I like to tell people first, you need to have a big picture marketing strategy. So looking at it could even just be 6 months from now. So between now and 6 months, ideally, what would you like to see your business going? Who do you want to be working with? What types of offers do you want to see yourself doing? You can even figure out, ideally, what rates do you want to be charging? How many people can you take? Kind of that sets the framework. So you all of a sudden, you go from like all the possibilities you could do to grow a business to I'm laser focused within this slice. This is my lane. This is what I'm going to focus on between now and the next 6 months to hit that target of what I want to do. So first, figure out your big picture vision of where you want to go. The second thing is a growth strategy. And basically, I just mean know your numbers. Know what you need to do to track. So clearly, if you know where you want to go. So for the VA business, if you know you want to work with this type of clients doing this types of work, you're going to be either on retainer or they're going to buy like 3-month packages or whatever your like structure is going to be. You need to know, okay, how many people can I ideally handle? How much do I need to charge them? How much do I want to make? Like, how much do I need to bring home for money? How much do I want to make in my business? Those are different numbers you can set to help you figure out, okay, how many clients do I need to take on? Is this going to be reasonable for me to be able to manage that many clients? What's the onboarding going to be for my business? Like, how long does it take me to get someone up to business? How many hours per week am I going to have to use for each? Like, all those little number things make your business so much more real, so that when you go out and you start attracting these types of people, your brain isn't afraid that you're going to fail in your business because it already has a map. It already knows, I need to fill these 4 gaps of people who do 10 hours per week of work, and then I'm going to charge them this amount of money. Like, your brain already has all those answers, and so it allows you to step into it and not have those limiting beliefs of like, we're never going to do it. So let me give you an example. When I pivoted my business online about 2 years ago, I put out this thing on in a Facebook group, and I was like, I'm just going to try this. I offered a free marketing strategy session just to see if anybody would bite. And I got over 50 people to apply over 2 days. And they filled their questions. And I was like, I panicked. I was like, this is amazing. But I was like, oh my gosh, what if even 10 people signed up on the spot for what I was offering? There was no way I could handle that. My brain freaked out so much. I didn't offer a single one of those people anything. I just did the strategy sessions because I was so panicked about how in the world was I going to, what if all 50 said yes, right? Like my brain was having these crazy scenarios. So instead of focusing on let's make one person an offer for something, it was like, 50 people are going to say, yes, I can't do anything. Okay. Crazy town, right? But if I had a plan that was like, oh my gosh, I have 50 strategy sessions. I'm looking for this type of client. So what I know in the session, if I see them, that I want to offer them this thing and I only have 3 spots, I'm going to charge them. If I knew that going into it, I would have filled all my spots, right? But because I didn't have a plan, it was just like, I'm going to wing it into the world and see what happens. It was like drowning in a lot of work. I did them over 2 weeks. A lot of them eventually came some kind of client later, but when you're starting a business and you have 50 new leads coming to you, don't you want to convert some of them, right? Right. So that's why it's really important to have that growth strategy. So you know your limits, you know where you're growing, you tell your brain, I've got a plan. Don't fail me on this one. So that's the second one. The third one is quick fix. And so that's kind of what I did with that, putting this into the world thing, marketing strategy. It's what's the fastest thing you can do to make money in your business between now, and we're recording this on a Tuesday, and Friday. So doing that kind of thinking is not great for your business long term. But if you need to get something started, you're probably in I don't know how to say this right, analysis paralysis mode, and you overthink everything. You don't get started on anything because you're like, all the possibilities, or I need to have this right, or I need to do this. So I challenge you, if you need to make money, get something started, think between now and Friday, or whatever, 4 or 5 days from now when you're watching this, what could the fastest way you can make money? What offer could you put out? What's your price point? When could it be done? It could be a one-time thing, 1 hour session. It could be, I'm launching this beta course for free even. Whatever it is, get it done in those 4 or 5 days and test it out. That's the fastest way to make money. One, you're testing your ideas super quickly. You're not allowing yourself to kind of, be my brain and sabotage yourself because you're just taking action. Success loves action. So the faster you move on things, even if they're not perfect or you don't have all the details figured out, the better you're going to have, because your brain's like, oh, she did that. That was easy. Okay, we'll let her do the next big idea she has, instead of being like, no, you can't do that. So quick fix. So what is that thing you could do between now and the next 5 days to make money? What's the offer? Where are you going to put it out? How are you going to deliver it? Figure that out. Even if you have to do that for 6 months of okay, this week, what am I going to put out there? For you, when you start a business, it's figuring out what in the world do you want to even make? Because you might have an idea in your head, but the people who you're attracting may not be your ideal people yet, but you still need to pay bills and make money. So that's okay. Don't feel like, oh, I can't do that because you're not my ideal person. No, you need money, girl. So be like, sure, I'll do that for 60 minutes and here's my price. And then once you do that enough, you're like, oh, well, you know what? Instead of attracting this person, I'm going to offer this bigger thing instead. Or that was really easy. Why don't I make this my low? All of a sudden you're going to see possibilities instead of desperation. I just need clients. And that's how you grow and scale your business into the one you actually want to run. Oh, I have one more. Sorry. Last one, real easy, is seasonal launching. So depending on your business, there may be times of ebb and flow of when it's going to be a great time for you to launch something, promote something, and other times where it's going to naturally be slower. It could be literally seasons of maybe you have you're a product business. Maybe you have a lot of stuff happen at Christmas. So, between end of summer and Christmas is going to be your busiest time. And then, spring is going to be not so busy. So think about those things for your type of business. When are people going to be most likely seeking you out? And how can you kind of plan things out in your launch? So a lot of times for me, summers are a lot slower as far as I don't have a lot of big launches. I don't plan stuff just because most of my people have half moms, half not moms, but it's crazy. Nobody wants to work during summer. I don't care if you have it we want to be chill. So I have a real laid back summer business because I got a ridiculous amount of kids too. I got to do childcare for, right? So I don't plan a lot of things in summer, but man, August hits when those kids are in school, we ramp it right back up. So fall's real heavy for me and that kind of thing. So think about for your own business, what are those ebbs and flows? Because it also helps you not feel like you're running nonstop. You're like, okay, naturally, I'm going to build this up and then I'm going to go into planning mode. And then I'm going to build this up and I can go into planning mode. And you can start to see in your business of when you can really ramp stuff up, when you don't have to freak out so much. That's where I would start people.
I think that's just the plan. It's not even just where should you start. That's just
go do it. Go do those 4 things and you have a business that's like, it feels, you're like, oh, that was a lot. But it's like, honestly, you could probably map out the first 3, all 4 of those in like 2 hours or less, really. You think about it, maybe even an hour, because you're like, it doesn't take that long for you to plan out these little details, and then you just got to start taking action. You don't need to have a 5-page business plan. I've never written a business plan for myself. You don't need to have all this stuff. If you have a laptop or a computer, a social media platform you like, and you have a great idea and you're great at what you do, then you can start a business between now and Friday.
Love it. So good. So good. Okay. So one of the questions that Katie had was around resources. So I've been a guest on your amazing podcast. And so ladies, if you haven't checked out Mallory's podcast, you need to check it out. It's called Marketing Magic. And it's on iTunes and all of the other places. And she really does break things down in terms of marketing. And then she has guests on where she does like a strategy session, sometimes on air, which is what she did for me. So that's an amazing resource that I will direct people to and share the link to. But is there anywhere else that you would direct people to? Because I know that when it comes to marketing, there's a lot of information out there. So when people say, okay, I want to look and find out some stuff online, they can even get overwhelmed by doing a Google search. So have you got any other credible sources that you would say, if you're not going to listen to my podcast, then this would be a good place for you to look up marketing stuff?
Yeah. So to kind of preface this, I like to tell people, listen ideally to only 1 or 2 voices, especially in the online space when everybody's really loud and you see stuff everywhere. So it does not have to be me, although I do have great resources. But pick 1 or 2 people that you like how they've grown their business. You like how they do business. You like what they like the actual physical things they're doing, like where they run challenges or they go live on Facebook or they're crazy on Instagram. Pick people that you can listen to that do things how you want to do them, or how have similar values or similar systems and that kind of thing, how you want to do them, because that allows you to shut out everybody else and focus. The biggest thing that derails new entrepreneurs, anybody, is listening to too many things. It's like the shiny object syndrome, right? We all hear about, we all fall prey to. It's the idea that you start to listen to everybody and you second guess everybody also. And so you never make the progress you want and you just assume you suck, but you don't. You just had way too many voices in your head that you weren't able to take linear action. So I forget which book it is. It might be The One Thing. Maybe,
yes,
maybe
I've read
Essentialism.
That. It's amazing.
One of them, but it was this graph they did where if you had a circle in the middle and you had arrows pointing out for all the things you were focusing on and chasing after in your business, you would only get 1 little arrow around all the sides. So imagine a sunshine, right? And all the rays kind of going out. But if you're listening to 1 or 2 voices and you have this circle and you can and all of a sudden you're able to stack all those on top of each other, look at how much further you can take your business on whatever if you are focusing on that one thing to do, that one voice that's doing this one system. It's why I kind of break down the 1-by-1 marketing system for people on my podcast, when they come into my academy and when they join Mastermind, is that you need to focus. That's why we do 1 social media platform. You need to have laser focus if you want to get a business that's sustainable off the ground. So find 1 voice you want to listen to. There's some other great podcasts if you're a podcaster and like to listen that are great with just business in general. I love Biz Chicks podcast with Natalie Ekdahl. She's fantastic. She's actually where I got the idea to do the live marketing strategy sessions on my podcast, is because I heard hers a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could totally do this. This would be so fun. And so she's where I got the inspiration. That's where a lot of my podcast, why half of it's that. Another great one, you don't have to be in the ClickFunnels world, but I like the advice that Russell Brunson gives on his Marketing Secrets podcast. They're usually short. They're great interviews. They're great nuggets of things. I wouldn't necessarily say they're plans or anything, but they're great nuggets of marketing ideas. If you're into courses, I know Stu. I know you like Stu. Does he have a podcast still?
Yeah, it's Marketing Your Business podcast.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I have his face. Yeah, it's blue background, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amy Porterfield has some great stuff too. Everybody has a niche, right? Like a specific thing they talk about. Like Amy's really into courses, Stu's into memberships. Find how you want to model your business and then listen to those types of voices. I wouldn't really necessarily go on Pinterest and search for things. You're going to get bloggers who don't necessarily know what they're talking about. If you want to do email marketing, Mira Coathand, it's Thand. She's fantastic at email marketing. She's one person I would follow on Pinterest. She's like prolific. She has a great free book on like Kindle about getting your first 100 or 1,000 subscribers. Like I really like her, what she puts out, how to do a content plan in an hour and that kind of stuff. So some of her stuff's been really great as well. But those are the types of things I would start with. Is you probably already are watching some people that you like, and that would be great for you to follow. So just pick one or two voices and just focus on what they do and what they put out and, follow them.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really great advice, especially for you ladies who are just starting out, because I have fallen prey to that. Like when I first started, the whole online world opened up to me and I was like, oh my gosh, Marie Forleo, oh my gosh, this person, and have listened to lots of different people. And sometimes the advice is conflicting and then you just feel like, I don't know what to do. So you don't do anything, and that doesn't serve you or your business. So I would definitely echo that picking one or two people to follow is definitely.
And it's okay if you change people, because like at some different times in your business, it's like, what do you need most? Like if you need to know how to get started and launch things, then you want to listen to this type of person. But if you have you already know, like I'm building memberships, then Stu's probably going to be your person. He is like the go-to guy on that, that kind of stuff. So it's okay to ebb and flow. And you're like, no, I'm not really focusing on that. For me, I have a big focus on podcasting in my business. It's a big visibility piece for me. So I listen to a lot of people on podcasting and podcasters who do podcasts and that kind of stuff. So that mind stuff changes and flows as well. And that's okay. Just know what your end goal is so you know who to follow that's going to actually get you to that, right, the big picture vision you set out for yourself.
Mallory, one of the things that would be great for you to share is whether you have any kind of sayings or inspirational quotes that really impact you or that you live by, because I love to hear about those and my audience do too.
Sure. So I think the thing I tell myself the most, which is almost like I don't have any tattoos and I'm such a baby, I probably wouldn't get one. But I always say I would get this as a tattoo just because I need it as a reminder, is that done is better than perfect. It's something I am a recovering perfectionist. I would probably say I'm definitely not recovered. I like things to be right and to be done right the first time and to be amazing. That's kind of my personality. But learning that it's better to put something in the world that can get traction than to hold it in my brain in my life forever is kind of my thing. So when I get like freaked out about anything in my business, whether it's going to meet like a really big client or trying out something new or launching something, I just say, done is better than perfect. Let's put this out today. So what? I wanted to do all these things. I don't have time. Is it still going to be great? Probably. So let's put it out there. That's my go-to mantra because I totally can derail myself and not be the kind of boss I want to be and not do the things and accomplish the things I want in my business if I let myself get in my head. I think another one that I kind of like a pep talk I like to give myself is who are your people? It can be really isolating. I'm in we're both in our offices. It's like the square room by myself. I have a mic and I have a TV, and not TV, I have a camera, right? But it can be really isolating. I talk to people all day long, but I'm still by myself in my own room. And so it's really helpful for me to have people I know that I can reach out to on Voxer when I'm lonely, when I'm bored, when I'm doubting myself, when I want to share something exciting, to reconnect me back to like the living, right? Like reconnect me back to what's actually happening in life. Even like I have a reminder that pops up on my phone every morning. It's called Do a Card for Drew. And we have these index cards where you write things, like things to show that we love each other type thing. For my husband, his name's Drew. So every day it's like, okay, I'm going to send a funny GIF today, or I'm going to like just a connection. It's reminding me that I'm not just a boss owner, that I am making progress, that I do have relationships, because I think we get really consumed, especially if you work by yourself, you're in a cubicle, to isolate yourself and with only your thoughts and your work. And so it helps me stay human in a way.
Oh, I love that. That is wonderful. I'm gonna steal that and share some stuff with my husband. Okay, so if people want to learn more about you and all of your marketing magic, see what I did there? Where can they find out more about you on your podcast and website and all that stuff? Do you want to share?
Yes. So I have a podcast. It comes out weekly on Thursdays. It's called Marketing Magic. It looks like me as a cartoon with hot pink, of course. It's a kind of a mix of where I do three things on the podcast. I do live marketing strategy sessions where entrepreneurs come on, ask me questions, and we kind of make out a plan for whatever it is they have questions about. Everything from, I want to launch this thing to, I don't know where to find leads, or how do I get started? All those types of things. We answer all those questions. I also bring on guests who are 6- and 7-figure businesses to help, kind of like you do, to bring on mentors to help people see what's possible in your business. Because I think until you can see where you can go, we play too small in our businesses. So I bring guests on to talk about how they got to where they are, what's really working for them marketing wise, what's the new cool thing they're trying. And then I have solo episodes where it's basically how to do this. Let's figure out how to have a visibility plan. Let's talk about how to create an email list, all those things. So it's a hybrid of those. I have the Girl Boss Club Facebook community of amazing entrepreneur women who are chasing success and taking names as well. And then I do a live marketing rehab show on Facebook on my biz page every week.
Awesome. So I'm going to put all those links in the show notes so people can go and check you out. I absolutely love all that you're doing. It's so easy to digest, so easy to action, and it's awesome. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
It's been awesome having you. I just love Mallory, and it was so good to hear from her. Now, she dropped so much knowledge and guidance as it pertains to marketing. And I know that you might be listening to this thinking, well, I'm not a business owner, but a lot of what she shared can be applied to the way that you are approaching your individual career development and you sharing who you are and showing up as your personal brand to essentially attract opportunities. And I want to say at this point, it is really important for you to understand the impact that building a personal brand can have. So recently, through having a personal brand, I have been able to land a keynote talk. I have been able to land a TEDx talk. I have been featured in Surrey Life magazine, which is a national publication. Lots and lots of opportunities have come because people have come to know who I am and what I stand for, because I have been putting myself out there on podcasts and doing interviews and sharing on LinkedIn and just consistently showing up. So I just want to encourage you that whatever it is that you're wanting to do in your career next or in your business next, showing up and being visible and getting people to know about you, your skills, your expertise, and what you're about is a key element to you achieving your goals and achieving them a lot quicker than if you weren't doing those things. So I implore you to take on board what Mallory has said and really think about what your marketing strategy is going to be for either yourself or for your business. And I want you to go and connect with her because she is awesome. So check out her podcast, Marketing Magic, and also look her up on the links that I'm going to share with you. So if you go to lightboxcoaching.com/episode 73, then you will see the show notes and you can connect with Mallory. All right, so that is all from me this week. I am so looking forward to what's coming up. As I mentioned, I'm doing a TEDx talk on the 6th of December. So that is super duper exciting. And I'll be sharing all with you once it is done so that you can view it and you can share it. It's going to be an exciting topic and an exciting experience. I'm really, really looking forward to it. So until next time, I want you to look after you and look after your babies, and do come and connect with me over on LinkedIn. You know, I'm there pretty much every day. So I'd love for you to come and connect with me over there. All right, I'll speak to you very, very soon. Bye. This podcast features music from Ben Sound.